Cries from the Heart. Stories from around the world, retold by Jennifer Bassett. The 8 stories in this book were selected from the winning stories in the 2004 Commonwealth Short Story Competition.
The Photograph by Sefi Atta, read by Damien Lynch. In today's world, there are photographs everywhere. Web pages on the internet, magazines full of fashion and film stars, newspapers full of photos of war and sport, places and people from other lands. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and maybe it is. But what is the picture telling us? Sometimes we only see what we want to see. Make a picture in your mind. A girl with thin cheeks and tired eyes. Her arms and legs are as thin as sticks. She is only skin and bone. Clouds of dust circle above her head as the food trucks drive away. Their wheels leave marks on the dry ground, and soon only the marks show that the food trucks came to the village and left. The sun is at its hottest. The African sky is unending and cruel. Even the white men with cameras, busily taking photographs of the usual fighting over the food, are now getting ready to leave. They pack away their cameras, jump into their cars, and drive quickly away to cool, modern hotels in a city miles away. They are photojournalists. One of them, sunburned and hot, dressed in a shirt and jeans, kneels down on the dusty ground to take some photographs of the girl before he leaves. In the pocket of his shirt is a protein bar, soft from the sun, uneaten, untouched, forgotten. He doesn't stop to think about the uneaten bar in his pocket and the starving girl. He is only one man. What can one man do in a world where life is cruel, and governments cannot or will not help their people? And who wants to stay in a place like this, with its dirt and its terrible smells, if they can drive away from it? The girl caught the photographer's eye. She was in the middle of a group of boys, fighting just as strongly as they were, when the food trucks arrived. But she was pushed down and fell under the boys' feet. The boys stepped all over her, and when she could move again, the bags of rice were all gone. She stayed there, red-eyed, moving her fingers slowly over the dusty ground. The journalist takes his last photo, returns to America with his bag full of films. One of his photographs of the girl sells and is placed on the front cover of a news magazine. "You've caught the face of hunger in Africa," the news editor tells him. He wants to tell the editor that this photograph is just one face, in one village, in a country full of hungry faces. But he does not say it. The photograph is good for him. More people admire his work and want to buy his photographs for their magazines and newspapers. The photograph is in most news stores by the end of the month, even in those bookstores where people go only to read the magazines and not to buy. They look at the face of the African girl and quickly turn away to enjoy the rest of their shopping trip. But the girl's picture stays in their minds. A teenager has just finished looking at the clothes in Vogue, an expensive fashion magazine. She sees the photograph under the heading Starving Africa. Her parents are from Africa. She herself was born and schooled in America, watching American TV, American films, and has never traveled out of America. She is uncomfortable with photographs like these. She remembers her classmates in school who joke about starving Africans. She isn't African in that kind of way, but she isn't truly American either. When she was younger, Cinderella, Snow White, and all the other girls and princesses in the Disney films didn't look like her. When she was older and became interested in fashion, the models on the magazine covers didn't look like her either. Then the magazines found out that Africa had beautiful women. A Nigerian model is in the latest copy of Vogue, dressed in blue and thin, so thin. The teenager feels the fat at the top of her legs. She wants to be thin like the model. She wants to wear jeans that are like a second skin. She wants a photograph of herself with cool, unsmiling eyes like the Nigerian model. She is careful about what she eats. And if she eats too much, she puts her finger down her throat to make herself sick. Why does our world have people who starve and people who decide to starve themselves? It doesn't matter why. The hunger inside this teenager is real. So she stares at the girl in the photograph, does not think about the dry, dusty, hungry land behind her, and admires her cheekbones.
Leonard by Adrienne M. Frater. Read by Nicolette Mackenzie. Women often knit gifts for their families. Wives knit socks or scarves for their husbands. Grandmothers knit little jackets for their children's babies. Buying a gift is quick and easy, but making a gift with your own hands takes longer. And if, like Leonard's wife, your hands are old and stiff and crooked with arthritis, perhaps knitting is not the best thing to do. I'll knit him a scarf. Yes, I'll knit him a scarf the same colour as his eyes. I wait until my niece takes me shopping. I want to buy some wool, I tell her. I want to knit Leonard a scarf. But you don't knit, she says. She looks at my crooked hands and quickly looks away again. And Leonard doesn't go out anymore. But Petra takes me to the wool shop anyway. I want to buy some blue wool, I say to the woman in the shop. The colour of my husband's eyes. I touch a ball of blue wool that feels as soft as a bird's feathers. Isn't this a little too fine? Asks the woman in the shop. No, it's just right. Later, tired after my shopping, I lie back in my armchair and have a little sleep. When the car stops outside, I am still half asleep. And in my mind, I see a younger Leonard standing at the door. His back is as straight as a piece of wood, and his blue eyes smile. Is anyone home? Dan calls. I wake with a jump. Here we are, Mr. Phipps, Dan says to Leonard. Holding Leonard's arm, Dan walks him into the house. Thank you, Dan. I take off Leonard's coat and push some hair away from his eyes. We eat dinner in a silence that aches. I drink red wine, and Leonard eats with a spoon. Then, after I've washed him and put him to bed, I sit down to knit. The needles are silver. The needles are cold. I take the paper cover off the wool, find one end of it, and try again and again to make the first stitch. I am listening to music by Beethoven, and it is nearly halfway through before I have finished the first row of stitches. My fingers hurt, and they won't do what I tell them. But I have begun. Leonard and I met at a concert in Auckland. He was tall, with blonde hair then. I can still see him walking towards my seat. He took off the soft blue scarf that was the same colour as his eyes, and my heart gave a little jump. We talked over supper, and I found out where he lived and what he did. I'm an eye doctor, he said. Just beginning. No money, but I never miss concerts. I made our first date while we were walking out of the concert building. In those days, men always did the asking, not girls. I don't know if Leonard was surprised at my asking him or not. He never said anything. On the days when Leonard goes to the daycare centre, I knit. I plan to finish the scarf for our 53rd wedding anniversary. The scarf is almost finished, and when I hold it to the light, diamonds shine through. I shake the wool, drop a stitch, try to find it again. Was I more in love with Leonard than he was with me? I have so many questions, and I cannot ask any of them now. It's finished, I tell my niece, putting the scarf round my neck. It looks good, she said, if you don't look too closely. Is it a gift? Yes, my last. On the morning of our anniversary, I kiss Leonard and give him the scarf. I know he will not speak, but while I am putting the scarf round his neck, I find that I am still hoping. The scarf is as crooked as my fingers. It's full of holes, long, thin holes, little round holes. Leonard puts his hand up and touches the wool. And for one short moment, his eyes come alive again. Yes, he wants to tell me. Yes, he wants to say. The scarf is soft. The scarf is blue. The scarf is us.
A Pot Full of Tears by Laurie Kubutsile, read by Damien Lynch. Luck comes and goes like a thief in the night. Here 1 minute, gone the next. Some women want children but can't have them. Others have children but can't keep them. Some babies are born into loving families. Others never sleep in their own mother's arms and never know their father's name. And in the end, which of them is lucky and which unlucky? Who can say? The wind whispers through the walls of the little wooden house, blowing the flame of the smoky lamp from side to side. An old man sits, resting his arms on his legs, looking down at the wooden floor. How long will it be, he thinks. The end must come soon. It must. Across the room from him sits a woman. She is a stranger and does not belong in this house. Everything about her is different. She looks different. She sounds different. She smells different. She has sat here in this poor little house for 7 hours, but still the wind carries her expensive perfume, a smell from another world. She and the old man are different in every way, but she, too, sits on an old wooden chair, looking down at the wooden floor. How long will it be? She thinks. The end must come soon. It must. Sometimes they hear a cry from the other room. Each time, the old man feels that cry all through his body. A father feeling a child's pain. A loud scream brings both the old man and woman stranger to their feet. They wait. Minutes later, an old woman comes through the door, holding a baby in a blanket. The blanket is new, brought by the woman stranger. She now takes the baby from the old woman, but she does not move the blanket to look at the baby's face. She is not interested in that. She leaves the house without even a goodbye to the old man. It is months before a baby is taken away in the night from a mother who is a child too young to be a mother. It is months before a father decides that he must lock his daughter in the back room. He must do this because he loves his daughter, and she will never find a good husband if people know her dark secret. It is months before a child with long feet like his father and a curved eyebrow like his mother is taken away in the night. A child who will never see the long feet of his father or the curved eyebrow of his mother. It is morning, on that day months before, and a young woman, hundreds of miles away, wakes up to find a little blood between her legs. Now her husband's family will decide that she can never have children. And her husband's mother will say, once again, that she is no good. She will say that a woman who cannot have children is no use to the family. Tears run down the young woman's face, and she wants to die, because she does not want to give this news to her husband, who was hoping. What can he do? He has fought with his mother again and again, but now he has to agree at last. He has to say, yes, he will take this barren woman back to her family. There is no use for her here. He is the only son of the house, and a wife who cannot have children is no use to him and his family. The trouble is that he has learned to like this woman who is his wife. Maybe he has even learned to love her. He talks to her softly while she cries in his arms. We will do something, he tells her. We will do something. They travel to a country which is at war, where the people live with death every day of their lives. And for these people, a baby who is taken away from them is a baby who has escaped from the house of death. This is what the woman tells them. The woman stranger who smells of expensive perfume. Now she is in the place where she belongs, in a cool, modern office, with carpets on the floor and soft, comfortable chairs. It will cost them money, the woman tells them. A small sum of money for this only son and his barren wife, but a very large sum of money for the old man in his wooden house. But he will not see that money. It is not for him. Months later, the only son and his barren wife have a small boy, a baby with long feet and a curved eyebrow. They are happy. There is a grandson in the house, and the family name will continue. The boy will eat well every day. He will have the love of a family around him. He will never be hungry. He will never know war. He will never have to live in fear and in pain, without friends, without hope, without love. Years are gone, and a young married woman with a curved eyebrow cooks rice in a pot over an open flame. She looks at her small daughter, who shakes her fat little feet at the sky. And like a dream that never ends, the woman sees the long feet of a child who will never know where they came from. The tears run slowly down her cheek, falling, lost, in the steaming pot of rice. The House by Erica N. Robinson. Read by Damian Lynch. Sometimes people's lives go terribly wrong. Maybe their marriage breaks down. They lose their job, their house, their friends. They have to live on the street. They drink too much. They don't wash. Who will give a man like that a second chance? Only a very special kind of person. Like Nan, a fruit seller on the streets of Kingston. Sonny had a new plan, but he did not know if Nan would agree to it. He and Jake were building a house, which was big enough for 2 families. And one day, they decided between them that Sonny's ex-wife Tanya and his children should have it. Nan, Sonny said to her quietly, "I'm going to let Tanya and the children live in the house." "What?" shouted Nan. "Why?" "It is good for the children," said Sonny. "They will be off the streets, and the boys won't have to hustle like me." "But what about me and you? Where are we going to live?" "We will try and build another one," Sonny said. "Lord," he thought, "is she going to leave me now? Maybe this is too much for her. I love her. I hope she understands what I'm trying to do." "So," Nan said slowly, "you tell Tanya already?" "I said something about it." Sonny looked away from Nan's eyes. "She agrees because it would be good for the children. I don't want my daughters living and dying like dogs on the streets of Kingston. and I don't want my boys carrying guns and selling drugs. I want them to have a place to live, Nan. A place where they can study their books and have a better life. It is a hard thing you ask, Sonny, Nan said quietly. Sonny was a good man, and Nan trusted him. But she could not understand why he still cared about his ex-wife, Tanya. Why can't he have a clean break with this woman, she thought. Tanya ruined his life. She went with other men, and she kicked him out on the street. And then she sold all his things. Nan remembered the day when she first met Sonny, a day that changed her life. He was just a street man, a drunkard, and so dirty. There was hunger in his face, in his eyes, even in the way he walked. She watched him for a while, then called out to him, "Old man, come here. You hungry?" "Yes, ma'am." What kind of a street man was this? She thought. Nobody ever called her ma'am. That wasn't a word people said to women who sold fruit on street corners. They usually called out old girl or something worse like dirty skettle. It felt good to be called ma'am. She took some of her fruit and gave it to him. "Thank you, miss," he said. "I'm very grateful." He came by every day after that, and every day she gave him some fruit. Then one day she took him to the church on Harbor Street, which helped street people with their drink problems. They agreed to help him and took him in. 2 months later, a clean, tidy man in a light brown suit stopped by her stall and said, "How are you, madam?" He gave a big smile, showing his white teeth. "Here's something for you," he said, and held out 2 $1,000 bills. "Thank you," Nan said, "but why are you giving me so much money?" "You helped me when I needed someone," he said quietly. "You brought me back to life." Nan stared at him, not understanding. "I was that old drunkard on the streets," he explained, "and you gave me food every day." "What?" said Nan. "I happy to see that you are right now." "Yes, thanks to you. I now have a job with the town council, you know. I drive the garbage truck." Nan smiled happily. She went on smiling for the next year and a half. She felt young again and full of hope. At last she could forget the sad years when she was 16, with a baby, and no chance to go to school and get a better life for herself. She and Sonny started living together, and now they were planning to get married and have a home of their own. She decided to give Sonny this one thing, and to give it freely, because she trusted him. "Okay, go on," she said to Sonny. "Let them live in the house, and we will work together to build our own." Sonny put his long arms around Nan's comfortable body and pulled her close. He understood what she was saying, that she trusted him, that she was strong enough to wait. He put his mouth close to her ear and whispered, "Thank you." Dora's Turn by Jackie Budesta Batanda, read by Damien Lynch. War is always, in any place, at any time, a terrible thing. The heart cries out against the killing, but still it happens. Somewhere in Uganda, Dora and her friend Akayo, who tells this story, are fighting in a war. They carry big AK-47 guns, and they know all about death and killing, pain and fear. They are children, 12 years old. The little boy's cries are getting quieter, weaker. I can only just hear the words. Please, please. No, no, no. Help me. Help. Now there is a louder voice. The voice of Mad Tiger, our commander. He is 14 years old. Hit him harder, he shouts at us. Get closer to him. Use your whips. Harder. The noise of our whips through the air is louder than the boy's cries. Our war is good, shouts Mad Tiger. We must clean out bad people. We are soldiers. No escaping, no running away. Everyone must fight. The other commanders smoke their cigarettes under a tree. Go on, they laugh at us. Get blood on your hands. The boy on the ground stops moving. Our whips are still. It is over. I feel ill. There is something hard in my throat, like a stone. I can't breathe. My friend Dora also tried to escape, and she'll be next. They will order me to kill her. Dora and I have been close. We are both 12 years old. Dora, who is going to be a doctor after the war. Dora, who wants to save lives, to stop the killing. Dora, who has been my friend when I wake in the night, screaming, because I can see the faces of all the people that I have killed. The AK-47 is heavy on my shoulder, and I stand, waiting for Dora's turn. And the stone in my throat gets bigger. Akayo, Mad Tiger shouts. I turn and look at him, hiding the fear in my eyes. It is a crime to show fear. My mouth is shut in a hard line. This helps to stop the tears coming into my eyes. Yes, Afande, I say quietly. My voice must not be angry or unhappy or afraid. Just quiet. That way, he will not hear my fear. I give a soldier's salute to my commander, take my gun off my shoulder, and hold it up against my body. The gun points up to the black sky and the full moon. And the moon looks down at us, watching these deaths. Mad Tiger smiles, his teeth shining white in the moonlight. He looks pleased. Are you ready? I cannot speak, but I nod my head. They push Dora forward, and she falls on the ground in front of me, trembling. She is so small and thin, like a flower shaking in the wind. Our eyes meet. We cannot use words, so we speak with our eyes. I don't want to do this, my eyes tell her. But Mad Tiger and the other commanders are watching us. So I take Dora's arm and pull her to her feet. I want to ask her questions. Why did she try to escape without me? Why, Dora? Why? We have always known each other's secrets before tonight. Holding Dora's arm, I push her towards the trees. The killing will happen there, behind the trees, where no one can see. They are watching me. I can feel their eyes on my back. Perhaps they are following us, but I can't turn round to look. My legs are trembling. The stone in my throat gets bigger. My hands are hot and wet, and my fingers are making red marks on Dora's arm. I take my hand away. I can't do this. Not to Dora. We've been here together for 3 years. Don't be sorry, Dora whispers. You have to do it. Everybody has to do it. She mustn't talk. Someone will hear. Afraid, I look behind me. We are alone. Quickly, I push Dora further into the trees. We stop. I'm cold. I'm afraid. I can't do this, I cry. You must, Dora whispers, or they'll kill you too. Then they must kill us both. The stone in my throat goes away with those words. You're my friend. We can run away. Look for the government soldiers. Ask for help. I speak excitedly. We can do it. Akayo, Dora says. Stop this talk. You know a way. At that moment comes the sound of heavy guns behind us, where Mad Tiger and the others are. What? Whispers Dora. Suddenly I understand. Those are government army guns, not our guns. A helicopter gunship has found Mad Tiger's group. This is our chance. I drop my gun and take hold of Dora's hand. Run! Dora stares at me, not sure. "Do you still want to be a doctor?" I shout. Suddenly, Dora's feet come to life again, and the ground under our running feet trembles.
Callous by Janet Tay Hui Ching. Read by Nicolette Mackenzie. Some people don't find it easy to talk about their feelings. If they have never talked about them, it can be hard to begin. And year after year, it gets harder and harder, just like a callus on the skin. A wife watches while her husband packs his suitcase. A great change is coming into their lives, but maybe it is easier to talk about the suitcase. She watched him pack his clothes and his wedding suit into his old suitcase. She could smell his cologne. When did he last wear cologne? Ah, at their wedding. It smelled strange then, too. She never wore perfume. What use was perfume to a working woman like her? And married women who wear perfume are looking for lovers, trying to catch other men. That's what people say. She already had a good, hard-working husband with a shop of his own. What more can a woman want? She began to feel better now, thinking about her good luck. Lost in her thoughts, she jumped at the sound of the suitcase shutting. His eyes went slowly round the room, looking for what? She looked up at him. "I put out all the clothes that you need," she said. "And you can't get any more in. It's a small suitcase." He looked at her for a moment. A Chinese girl like any other Chinese girl. Small eyes, flat nose, smooth pale skin, and long straight hair, now pinned up tidily, in the way of married Chinese ladies. She wore her usual light blue samfu. No, she was not a beauty, he thought. But she was a hard worker. His family was right when they said to him, "She will make a very good wife, work hard for you, give you many sons." And it was true. He never had to complain about her, not once. from the day they married and moved into their new home, with his future in the same suitcase. Her face was the same now as it was then, neither soft nor hard, never showing what she felt or needed. He didn't know what she needed, and he never asked. "It's a good suitcase. It's lasted a long time," he said. "Yes, I suppose. But it's still small." She got up from the bed and shook the pillows. They needed washing, she thought. Yes, wash it away, the dust and dirt of yesterday, their past married life together. In the future, nothing would ever be the same again. "It's enough," he said. "I don't have so many things to put in it." He put the suitcase on the floor, ready to go. She looked at him, still smelling his cologne. Maybe it was the cologne that was making her feel afraid. She had to talk to him, tell him about her feelings. But she was a hard-working Chinese woman, and hard-working Chinese women must not have feelings. "Is she waiting for you there?" she asked slowly. "You mean the hotel?" "Yes. I suppose the ceremony starts soon." She picked up one of the pillows and took off its cover. Yes, it needed washing. She wanted to get hold of him and shake him, scream and shout, and fall on her knees in front of him, crying, "No, no, please stay, don't go. I'll be a better wife. I'll work harder. I'll work as hard as 2 wives." But she just stood there, saying nothing, doing nothing, her face showing nothing. "I suppose," he said. "You'll be back in 2 days?" He didn't want to talk about her feelings. She never did before. But then, it wasn't every day that your husband brought home a new wife, a younger wife, only 19, and beautiful because she was young and happy and had big dark brown eyes, bright eyes. He only saw her once before he decided, but he remembered her eyes. It would be good to add her to the family, he thought. Now, he would have 2 hard-working wives, one stronger than the other. But the young one would be like a new flower in the house. He picked up his suitcase. "Yes, perhaps sooner. I don't know, he said. I'll take care of the shop, she said. When you come back with her, I'll have some jobs for her to do. She sat on the bed again, suddenly feeling tired and old. He didn't understand. No one understood. She couldn't ask him not to go. People would say that she was wrong even to ask him. Of course, he said. He was pleased that she thought of business. Business was important. He had many mouths to feed. He opened the door and turned to her. Today is a great day for our family. Not everyone is rich enough to have 2 wives. And there will be more sons to continue the family name. He smiled at her. Yes, not everyone. Husband? She looked up at him, waiting, hoping. I have to go now. I'm late. He did not want her to say anything. He never asked questions about her feelings because he was afraid of the answers. It was easier to pretend that she was happy all the time. Your suitcase. It's old. You need a new one. Thankfully, he turned away. No questions asked. No answers needed. Perhaps I will get a new one, after all, he said. He left the room, and the door closed quietly behind him.
Nimble Fingers by Anuradha Muralidharan. Read by Shelley Islam. Life is never easy for the poor. They have to work long hours just to get a roof over their heads and 1 meal a day. If their children are lucky, they go to school. If they are not lucky, they have to work. Krishna, who tells this story, is not lucky. He has to work in a factory making beedis, a kind of Indian cigarette. He is a good worker because his young fingers are small and quick and nimble. I cannot read or write, but I can count, but only up to 1,500, because that is the number of beedis that I need to make in a day. My life is easy to explain. If I wake up early, I can play for about 1 hour, or until the sun begins to light up the eastern sky. For that 1 hour, I am free as the birds which sit on the tree outside my home. My home is a hut with a roof of dried leaves. It is very small, but the three of us can just sleep in it. And I go away really early and come back in the nights, so only my mother and my little sister are there in the daytime. In the nights it is a bit crowded. When we sleep, my arm is often around little Tangachi, or Amma's thin foot is resting on my leg, but it doesn't matter. The other day I asked Amma, "How old am I?" She counted on her fingers. 6. 6 sounds very small when you think about 1,500 beedies, but Sami, the owner of the factory where I work, always says that I have nimble fingers. That night, when we were having our meal outside our home, I asked Amma, "What does nimble fingers mean?" "It means your fingers are like Weaver Mama's fingers," she said. "When your uncle spins his cloth, have you seen how quickly his fingers move, pulling the threads this way and that way? I love to watch Weaver Mama working, and now I am very happy because my fingers are like his." I asked Amma one more question while we drank our rice soup. "Why do I have to work with Sami and not with Weaver Mama?" This question made Amma unhappy, and when she is unhappy, she hits her head with her open hand. The noise is very loud, and she goes on hitting her head again and again, making a pat, pat, pat sound. It scares Tangachi and me, and I can see that the small one is ready to cry. I put my fingers, nimble fingers, on Amma's hands to stop her hitting herself. She takes both my hands in her hand and starts crying into them. I can feel warm tears dropping onto my fingers. Here I am, happy that I have Weaver Mama's fingers, and Amma is crying. She looks at the black marks on my hands and the cuts on my finger ends. She kisses my hands and holds me and Tangachi close to her. "Amma," I ask again, "why can I not work with Weaver Mama?" Tangachi is pushing her finger into my back. Her eyes are telling me to stop my questions, but I want to know. If I can make 1,500 beedies in a day, surely I can help Weaver Mama weave his beautiful cloth. Amma never answered my question that day, but I just went on asking. I asked the same question every night until the next full moon. That night, Tangachi was already asleep. Amma and I were sitting outside watching fireflies dancing in the moonlight. Amma held me close to her and said, "Krishna, you have to work all your life with Sami, the bonded labor man. You have to do this to pay back your grandfather's debt. You cannot work for another person because your grandfather has taken 5,000 rupees and sold you to Sami. All your life you will have to work for him in the same way as your father did." I look down to the ground because I do not want Amma to see the tears in my eyes. I am a brave boy, you see, but suddenly my nimble fingers don't feel so nimble anymore.
The Festive Season in a Part of Africa by Todd Collins. Read by Saul Reichlin. If you are a poor farmer and you only have one cow, it is important that it doesn't get sick. Because if it does, and you need to get a vet to come and see it, that can be very expensive. But if you are afraid that your cow will die, then you must send for the vet, even if it is the festive season and Christmas was only 2 days ago. "2 days after Christmas, a Zulu woman and her schoolboy son sat waiting for me to finish my morning's clinic in Ondini. She wanted me to visit her old mother's cow, which had a calf waiting to be born. But for 2 days now, the calf would not come out, and the poor cow was getting very tired. "We have heard that you are a good vet," the woman said to me. So, off we went. The schoolboy in the front of my pickup to show me the way, and the woman and my assistant, Mbambo, in the back. An hour of driving on bad roads full of holes, and after that on dirt tracks. Then we stopped at an old empty kraal. "Where's the cow?" I asked the boy. "We walk a bit," he said. So we took my vet's black bags and we walked, past other kraals with their fields and their fruit trees, and many of them with huts not lived in and falling down. We walked over rocks and by the side of rivers, and after about 45 minutes, we came to a lonely kraal. There were 3 white huts, a clean, tidy yard, and there, under the fruit trees, was the poor old cow, looking very, very tired. They brought out 2 nice wooden chairs with colourful seats from the middle hut. I put my black bags on them, but first I said hello in the proper Zulu way to Granny, who owned the cow. Nkosikazi, I called her. She was a very small woman, but she was the head of her family in the kraal. Then I looked at the cow and found that the calf was still alive and very, very big. So, with Mbambo helping me, I put the cow to sleep and did a cesarean. When I finished, there was a crowd of about 50 people watching, men standing, older women sitting on the ground, children sitting in the fruit trees. Now the bull calf was trying to stand on his feet and shaking his head from side to side. Someone brought a chair for Granny to sit on. "We must talk about money. Is business now," she called out so everyone could hear. "Well," I said, "you nearly had a dead cow and a dead calf. But I came and got the calf out, and so now they are both alive, not so?" She agreed, and 50 other people agreed too. And I drove all the way from Ondini in my pickup, which is a thirsty car, as thirsty as an old man drinking beer on a Sunday. Smiles and laughter. And if you take good care of this calf, and he grows into a strong young bull. When he is a year old, at the market in Ondini, they will pay you 1,500 rands for him. Not so? Yes. The old men in the crowd nodded their heads. And the cow, she is old and tired, and the flies are very bad this summer. But if she lives, next autumn you can sell her for over 2,500 rands. Loud noises of agreement from the crowd. So then, Inkosikazi, my work has given you about 4,000 rands that you didn't have before. Yes. So, how about we go halves, and I take 2,000 rands? Much whispering between Granny and her friends. That's lots of money, she said. Yes, it is, I said. And we have just had Christmas, and soon it will be New Year, and maybe the cow will die. So it is better that I don't ask for so much. You can pay me just half of that, 750 rands. Louder whispering and nods of agreement. But, said the schoolboy, who was standing behind his grandmother, half of 2,000 is not 750. It is 1,000. Ho ho, I said. I can see you are a clever young man. I made a mistake. But if I said 750, then I shall still say 750 and not change it. Well, what a noise there was after that. Everybody was smiling and happy. Granny pulled out a great big handful of 200 rand notes, and she gave 4 of them to me, with her other hand open upwards next to the giving hand, in the proper Zulu way. I took the money from her with my 2 open hands side by side, in the proper Zulu way, counted the notes and said, Inkosikazi, you have given me too much. She stood up and said, Keep the 50. It is for your assistant, Mbambo. Man, the season of goodwill is amazing. Then we walked back for an hour, mostly uphill, with a long line of helpers carrying my bags. We stopped sometimes to eat the sweet wild fruit that grows around most of the old kraals in this part of Africa, in the festive season.